Welcome back everybody, this is Brian with the Visvim Pioneer channel, and today we're going to be taking a look at one of my personal favorite boots in my collection. Before showing you guys this boot, I wanted to talk a little bit more about how I came to purchase the boot as well as what my experience was when actually buying it. So in the Visvim community, we all have certain pieces that we're looking to acquire throughout our collection journey. And while there's always new and fascinating releases from the brand, there's a few different models that have become synonymous with the brand. One of those models is the Grizzly boot. I have told this story before on the Overdye channel, but I just wanted to give it a little bit more texture and kind of provide a closer look on this channel. So in November of 2023, my brother and I were invited to the Carmel opening for Visvim. Now, this was a very pivotal moment for the brand because, as many of you know, there isn't that many stores here in the US that Visvim has. So attending an invite-only opening was something that we couldn't miss. So Janique had reached out to me a couple of months before the store had officially opened, and she extended the invite to go. And while it seemed like there might not be a lot of thinking that has to go on, you know, if you're invited to something like this, you should just go. At the time, I had a lot of things going on in both my personal life and in my work life. So my schedule was absolutely jam-packed for that whole month of November. When I first got the invite, the original opening of the store clashed with a dance performance for my daughter. And of course, I'm not gonna miss my daughter's dance performance, so at first I thought I wasn't gonna be able to go. I was holding off until the last minute to completely turn down my invite just in case my younger brother wanted to go, you know, by himself. But you know, I think maybe like a week or two before the actual opening date, I got a text from Janique saying that the date had been pushed back. And that was a huge sigh of relief, obviously, because there was no choice between picking, you know, my daughter's performance and going to Carmel. I was always going to go to the performance, but at least this way, I didn't have to make that decision. It was already made for me. So great, it worked out. It was meant to be. I was meant to attend the store opening. So my brother and I decided to make a day trip out of it. And while that might not seem like a crazy idea for those of you that aren't from the West Coast, the drive from Los Angeles to Carmel is about 4.5 to 6 hours. The one freeway that a lot of people take to go up is always closed due to landslides, mudslides, and constant construction work. So you kind of have to cut through the middle of the state and take like the 5 and the 101 all the way up to the northern part of California. And the speed limits, you know, when driving on the twisty roads and in some of these like smaller cities is, you know, greatly reduced. And so it was going to be extremely time consuming. But you know, we thought we'd make a day of it and we just didn't know what to expect. We had a feeling that obviously Hiroki would be there and that would be extremely awesome. So these stores opening, as mentioned earlier, don't happen often. So my brother and I are relatively new to the Visvim collecting journey, and I want to say that this was one of those times where we just didn't know what to expect. Of course, you know, we theorized like, you know, who we might meet and things like that, but we just kind of wanted to play it by ear and just make the most out of the day. So my brother and I drive up to Carmel, and as soon as we pull up, we see Hiroki and Kelsi at the door. And this was already like, all right, cool. Drive was already worth it. We could go home. We don't even have to go inside the store. But so once we saw him, you know, we greeted him and he was extremely cool. Him and Kelsi were extremely kind, and it was one of those moments where I was like, I can't, you know, believe that I'm meeting like the guy that I've been, you know, inspired by and who I've been following throughout my collection journey. It just seemed like it all kind of happened really, really fast. There's definitely like a price point when it comes to buying Visvim, right? And you know, I've spent a lot more money than a normal person should. I don't know how many Honda Civics I could have bought with the a running joke that I have with Janique at Visvim when I'm buying different items is like, oh, how much is that jacket gonna be? You know, like about an 04, 05 Honda Civic, and it's like at a certain point, you know, you're spending, you know, used car money on items. And while they can seem extreme, overall I've tried to consume a lot less in regards to the quantities I'm buying, but obviously every single time I pick something up, it's, you know, it's a heavy hitter. As I mentioned, you know, I don't consider myself like one of their big spenders or anything like that, but I do try to talk to the staff and stop by whenever I can. They're always extremely welcoming and inviting. I take the time to go to the store and actually learn about the product. I'm super fascinated with all the details, and I think that that's something that us Visvim collectors really like geek out about, right? It's all about the details, right? Where the garment was made, you know, telling people about the mud dyeing process and how, you know, certain fabrics were just hand stenciled and some colors were like hand painted, and those kinds of things. Like, you know, you'd really have to be a fan of the brand in order to appreciate. And while I don't think that the price point for most of their items is worth it at retail, there are certain intricacies that you can definitely, like, you know, not justify, but kind of like, all right, I can see why, you know, the process of this item taking 2 to 4 weeks to make, you know, per single item might raise up the retail price. And so, and with all that being said, so when I pull up to the store, meet, you know, Hiroki, meet Kelsi, talk to the staff there. Janique was there. She's always a great host and someone that's, you know, really helped me throughout, you know, my Visvim collection journey. And when I was there, I got to talk to other collectors and people that I otherwise wouldn't have met just a few years ago. And being around a collective of people that have similar interests to you, for things that aren't as serious, right? Because at the end of the day, this is clothes. But, you know, it's just a nice feeling to be a part of a community and to know that this little thing that we have, like a little identifier, is something that like, like, you know, this person knows, and like he or she, like, you know, is also into it, maybe even more than I am, maybe a little bit less than I am, but we're all kind of learning from one another. And also seeing how people style Visvim in real life is pretty cool too. It's not something you don't, due to price point and certain styles, you don't really see Visvim out in the real world that often as you would with other like luxury designer brands. And so when you have a chance to see how people style it, it's kind of cool, like beyond looking on Instagram or whatever. This is also the first and only location that has a Little Cloud coffee, so got to get some drinks and got to enjoy that. I actually spilled the I think it's the plum juice on the like brand new custom concrete floors. That was kind of embarrassing, but but it didn't leave a stain or anything like that, I hope. But you know, the store was extremely cool. The almost like Venetian plasters that were on the ceiling, the custom carpet that was done by a local company was a really nice color. The handwork that was done on some of the different, you know, cabinets, and the overall layout was just extremely cool. Like, it definitely has a touch of Visvim, but it was unique in the sense that while other stores might have similar components, like that garment holding rack square thing in the middle, I don't know what it's called, it definitely had its own touch, and it kind of had like a beachside, you know, vibe to it. And overall, it was just really cool to spend a few hours with other enthusiasts, with Hiroki, with Janique, and with my brother, and be able to really enjoy, you know, what the brand was intended to be like from the founder and current, you know, creative director. So with store openings, there's typically special releases that are made available. Hype items from, you know, the previous season or the current season are typically held onto for a bit so that customers can buy them at the new store opening. There's always special ICT releases, such as the UT satchel, these Grizzly boots that I'm going to be showing in a bit, and like the kerchief jacket. So I had already purchased the satchel and stuff like that, so I decided to, you know, really go with the Grizzly. When I arrived to the store, I did not have the intention to spend, you know, $2,000 on a pair of boots. It was more about going for the experience, and maybe I might pick up a shirt or something like that. But, you know, when I met Hiroki and got to hang out with my brother and Janique and, you know, talk to some cool people, I thought, what better way to commemorate this experience than wanting to purchase a boot for as long as I could remember. And so I kind of, you know, bit the bullet and purchased the 2023 ICT Grizzly. So this boot is, you know, one of the more hyped releases from Visvim. I would say that it's one of the few items that's definitely worth the hype. While I did spend, you know, $2,000+ on these, I think that they're definitely, you know, one of the more worth it items, I guess you could say. The materials are extremely durable and soft. It's composed of a Belgian cowhide. You know, you have the mud dyeing throughout, which gives it a nice texture and a nice pattern. The Swiss riri zipper makes access to these boots extremely easy. These had virtually no break-in period. The vibram outsole makes them extremely comfortable. And all these different just layers of thick leather make the boot feel extremely sturdy. There's so many details to go over, so with that being said, let's take a closer look. Thank you all again for tuning in to the Visvim Pioneer channel. I hope you enjoyed the story I had to tell you guys today. It was a relatively long story, but it's one of those Visvim experiences that I'll be remembering for the foreseeable future. I think more than anything, this was a really big highlight for me, and it just comes to show the most important part of anything like this is always the community. I've been having a great time, answering your guys' questions and receiving feedback about different processes to break in my boots, and just overall this journey was something that I didn't foresee for myself just a few years ago. And this community, while it can seem intimidating because some of the items have extremely high price points, I wouldn't say that it's a very highbrow community. A lot of people that I've met, I'd say basically everyone, has been extremely laid back, is appreciative of the details, and are always open and willing to answer questions. And I'd like to continue and extend that courtesy as well. So if you guys have any questions, make sure you leave a comment. I would greatly appreciate it if you could like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, thank you for tuning in. Peace. No, that's terrible. I feel cringe. Rafi, give me a closer.
If you're in a fork in a road on what boots to wear, this video is the sign for you.
If you're in the fork, if you're standing at a fork in a road. All right, there you go. That's what it is. If you're standing at a fork in the road with what boots to wear, then this video's for you. That's done.